Oui, Philippe.
Bonsoir.
Good evening.
Gentlemen, to the press conference of President Puigdemont. As you may know, he's the 130th president of Catalonia. He has been re-elected as a member of parliament in the last elections in December 2017 as the head of the list Junts per Catalunya, Together for Catalonia. He also has the majority of parliament votes for his re-election as president of Catalonia, but as you know, he resigned and proposes Jordi Sanchez, who is in prison right now. Since October, he's forced to live in exile in Belgium, and this is his second visit outside of Belgium. He has only been in Denmark before. The main goal of this visit is to raise awareness internationally and to answer questions. And with this, we start the press conference. Pour la conférence de presse, on va procéder.
For the press conference, we will proceed as follows. You may ask questions in your preferred language, and the President will try to reply in the language in which he feels comfortable. We have 30 minutes, so let's begin.
Madame,
The lady, you have the floor.
Gabriela Sotomayor.
Gabriela Sotomayor, Mexican journalist. I will speak in Spanish because I'm Mexican after all. We were in the discussion, and Ms. Calmiade called for a dialogue. She stressed this point and asked whether it would be useful for the EU to mediate. But since the EU is already committed to a certain stance, would you accept Switzerland's mediation and perhaps hold the dialogue here, the capital of human rights? Thank you very much. Firstly and foremost, there is a certain tradition in Switzerland and Geneva. There is expertise in Switzerland dealing with these problems. So it would be a privilege for people who are so committed to mediation, peace, and human rights to lend a hand. For there to be mediation, both sides have to accept. When that possibility was raised, we accepted the positions of countries who wanted to mediate and who expressed this formally, but the other side rejected this. But it is never too late. I think that it is time for international mediators to help out in this conflict, mediators who are well-intentioned and who are very experienced and who can put that experience at the service of a dialogue and a solution. So all of those possibilities would very much be welcome. Ma'am, you at the back. Microphone, please. How can the Catalan institutional crisis be overcome? Because you still do not have a government. You decided not to run for president, and Jordi Sanchez is facing legal problems. So how can we overcome this impasse and also to overcome Article 155? Well, Jordi Sanchez is not able to run for president, not for legal problems, but rather illegal problems, because he has the right to run for president. He has his full MP rights, and he has all of every right to run for president. He's not been sentenced and should be able to run. That being said, we will do everything possible to come up with a government, but that reflects the will of the population as expressed in December. It would be preferable for the Spanish government to accept a result that it did not like in December 21st, because there's no way to get back to normal democracy than by implementing the results of voting. Article 155 was drafted a long time before the elections. Before Article 155, there was a financial intervention in Catalonia, an intervention in the finances of Catalonia, and it seems that this will continue even if there is a government. And one of the most perverse effects of Article 155 is that it could continue. So the Spanish government should really be very clear. And now, regarding the timetable, Angela Merkel was re-elected as Chancellor of Germany recently, and I congratulate her. But for 5 months, they were waiting to see who would be the chancellor. Rajoy took several months to be able to form a government. And so even though it is not the best possible situation, it is something that we've seen in Europe. Yes, you in front. Beatriz Jimenez from Telecinco, from Ana Rosa's show. Will Switzerland be where you will give up your MP rights in order to facilitate the formation of a government in Catalonia? No. Have you thought of doing this? No. Not here in Switzerland, no. And outside of Switzerland? Question, madam? Mr. Puigdemont, I'm from a Swiss website. First of all, what is was your economic program for independent Catalonia? Secondly, what is the current financial situation, economic situation of Catalonia? And thirdly, there are many companies and banks which left Catalonia after the referendum. What would your arguments be to make them come back? Well, on the first point, I think that I couldn't explain the entire economic program of an independent Catalonia in just this press conference, but I would like to assure you that Catalonia will continue. In fact, it will try to improve its potential as an open, dynamic economy, as in a market economy globally, with high added value industries. And we will continue to contribute to developing European regions, starting with Spanish regions. Secondly, the situation in Catalonia is totally different from what propaganda says. In 2017, Catalonia had a GDP growth rate of 3.4%. In other words, higher than the rate in Spain and also the average rate in Europe. We ended the year with an exceptional growth rate, and particularly in exports. There was a boom in exports. There was also a faster reduction of unemployment than you see in Spain. So Catalonia continues to be an extremely powerful economic territory. And finally, yes, some businesses changed not their production centers, not their management centers, but rather their legal address, availing themselves of a last-minute decree from the Spanish government to change their official address without the owner's permission. And I stress that. But that did not lead to Catalonia losing any businesses. I'm sorry. Yes, attracting businesses. It's hard to attract them without foreign offices to promote foreign investment. I would like to recall that Catalonia, until October, was the target for a third of foreign direct investment in Spain, and from Asia Pacific, half of the FDI ended up in Catalonia. And this is no coincidence. We had to work to make that possible. And the fact that economic offices of Catalonia abroad have been closed, it will be difficult to have that FDI at home. Sir, yes, you. From TV3, I would like to ask two questions. Tomorrow, you will meet with Unag. I would like to know what will be the proposal that you will make in order to unblock the swearing in of the president. Has Together for Catalonia offered the possibility of offering a motion on behalf of the Republic in exchange for coup support? And secondly, this festival was Spain declined to participate in this festival. Regarding Ana Gabriel, this is a private meeting. It is not something that was foreseen because we are not going to negotiate anything about the swearing-in ceremony. Obviously, if we were going to meet, we were going to bring up that subject. But for many matters, we will talk, but not all of which I can talk about because it has to do with the process. Regarding the Spanish government, I can't speak on their behalf, and I can't tell you what I'm going to say to Ana Gabriel because I have to tell them to her. And if there's a strategy to continue moving forward in what citizens have voted on, well, we will do that. If a Spanish government representative had come, I would have gladly participated, and I think it would have been a good idea, and I think it would have been a good message to send to the international community, which is looking at what is taking place right now. It would show that we want to normalize our democratic situation. It would have been a mechanism to try to resolve the situation. And that would have been a lesson from Switzerland. Unfortunately, that was not the case. I personally would have loved it if that could have happened, and I would have gladly participated in a discussion with the Spanish minister or representative. Sir, you here?
Bona nit, president.
Adrià from Bracu. I had a series of questions along the same line as the previous speaker. Are you in favor of a motion of confidence, or do you think that might be a way to allow for swearing in of the government? And secondly, would you be willing to? Are you willing to agree upon that only if COP agrees with them? Well, I have nothing against confidence motions. I submitted myself to a confidence motion. It is a possibility which exists in our regulations and our laws, and I don't think that it is a huge drama. I was the first person to submit to a motion of confidence in hearing in our recent democracy. If I didn't like it, I wouldn't have used it. That being said, there are certain situations, such as when I did it, it was in order to ensure that I had the trust of the Parliament in order to continue our program. It was simply to ask, do you still trust in my government as you did when I was sworn in? Because that gives more strength to the mandate, or it either forces you to step back. What was your second question? The agreement for swearing in a government without coup. Well, what voters voted on December 21st was an independentist majority. It would be strange if that absolute majority would not be used to swear in an independent president. So I have not really considered that possibility. Yes, sir.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. I work for the Russian press. President, at one point, there was some talk about Russia influencing the outcome of the vote in Catalonia. Could you comment on that? Was that information that was taken seriously in Spain? And then a very technical question. What is the protocol of Catalan presidency? Have you sent telegrams to Putin for his re-election? Could you repeat your first question, please? In a lot of media sources, there was talk about Russia having influenced the outcome of your vote. What can you comment about that? Was that taken seriously in Spain? And have you the intention of congratulating Putin as the president of Catalonia on his re-election? Yes, I think I was accused of being a Russian spy at one point and having very secret, privileged relations with Russia. Well, I've got nothing against Russia, of course, and I would have no problem in congratulating Putin, just as I would congratulate Ms. Merkel. This is a normal thing to do in terms of protocol, and I think it's only right. But this type of information is just ridiculous. And I was just amazed how many people actually believed that fake news. How could you say such a thing without any proof? Just to try to undermine someone's reputation? But let's be serious. Out of respect for Russia, on one hand, and then out of respect for Catalonia on the other. How could you imagine that people in Catalonia would be influenced by the intervention of a foreign country, whatever country that may be? And it's disrespect to the Catalan people, because people are saying, well, it's not possible that they actually voted for independence. People are saying that the Freemasons were involved. I mean, these are just rumors flying around, but I just think it's ridiculous. I laughed when I heard that, to be honest. When I read about this, Cipollino or something, I was called a Russian spy. I just thought that this was ridiculous. I laughed, but then I realized that some people are actually taking this seriously. And what more can I add? Next question, please. Is there anyone in the room who hasn't already asked a question, who wants to ask a question? Mr. Puigdemont, how do you see your professional future? If there was negotiation between Catalonia and Spain, do you think you could talk to Spain? Well, as a professional, I'm a journalist. That's my profession. And I don't have a great future as a journalist now. I can say that. But I understand your question. Do you think... Well, I'm in Belgium, I'm in Switzerland, I've been to Denmark, and I'm traveling like this because I want to act as a politician who is looking for a solution on the basis of the recognition of our claims, our democratic, peaceful claims. And I want to have negotiations. In particular with the Spanish state, in whatever way the Spanish state sees fit. I just think it's incredible that a state that was capable of talking with murderous terrorists who murdered hundreds, maybe even 1,000 people, they could talk with them, but they cannot talk with us. Elected representatives through a peaceful, democratic process. So I'm still prepared to try to bring about dialogue and fruitful negotiations, and that is my duty as a non-violent, democratically elected politician. Are there any further questions? A last question. One more question, and then that will be the end. Yes, lady.
I'm from ADA. You announced the creation of a Council of the Republic in Brussels, and I would like to know if any steps have been taken to create this private foundation, or what will its configuration be? Is that something that will be decided with Ana Gabriel? And secondly, if CUP's support is not forthcoming, would you be willing to give up your parliamentary seat to avoid elections? First of all, I said that there would be this meeting. I didn't set a date. I never talked about a private foundation. I never said anything of the sort. I don't know where that came from. But in any case, the role that the Council for the Republic has to play is clear. And the framework in which it will work is also clear. And secondly, I think it would be surprising if the electors voted for an absolute majority of independentists and then an independentist not be sworn in. I think this is the last question for tonight. I'm sorry that it has gone on so late, and thank you very much for attending. Good evening.